Hey guys, Michelle from Michelle's Craft Corner here, and I've got another awesome card to share with you. This one today is featuring the Lovely Friends bundle. So let me share with you just the front and check out the inside. Boom, it pops out. Isn't that so cool? So let's get started. So this is a close-up of the card. All right, you guys ready? And here is the pop-up. Isn't that awesome? I'm so happy how this turned out. And I ended up doing 2 of those laurel, I guess, greenery to do the seaweed. I want to show you another version. So if you didn't want to do the mermaid, you could just go nautical, and this is going to be one of the Father's Day cards. So that, and then, oh, there we go. Just like that. So this is just one of those and just the fish. But lots of great options with this set. So let's talk what you need to make this. So the first thing you're going to need to make this card is, of course, the Lovely Friends stamp set for that wonderful Good Friends Are Hard to Find. Oh, I Post-its out of the way. Stamp set, which is actually bigger than it appears on the front cover, as you can see. So there is that one. And then for the seaweed on the inside, we're going to use the Lovely Laurels dies. This nice long laurel right there. And yet again, this is another set that you can bundle together and save 10%. And if you look in the catalog, it even has a really cool idea. It was originally planned to do the flowers on the laurels and make it look like popping out flowers. But for some reason, I just saw it and I thought seaweed, and that's possibly because on the other page is that wonderful mermaid, which is the other one that we're going to be using in this set. So that is the Magical Mermaid stamp set. And this is in wood. It is also available in clear. And isn't she just lovely? You can color her any number of ways, but this is a really great set. So we're going to be using that for both the mermaid and some additional little details. Off to the side. And then to get all of our cute fish, we're going to be using the Seaside Seashore stamp set, which is a really cute set. And that other card I showed you at the beginning was just using these fish and not the mermaid. But another good one. This one is also in wood today, but is also available in clear as well. Okay, once you've got all your stamp sets together, then I'm going to grab the ink pads. So I used a variety of different inks today. The Sahara Sand for the sand, the basic black to stamp the fish. We're going to use the new powder pink, which is one of the new in colors for some blending for the mermaid's skin. Also the Island Indigo, the Dapper Denim, and the Chocolate Chip ink are our colors for today. Also of note, our post-it notes are brought to you by the Night of Navy Stampin' Up marker. A wonderful dark blue that's good for all kinds of occasions. So once you've got all of those, move on to paper. So for this one, we're going to use just a tiny strip of this new Wood Textures Design Series paper, which you guys know I've absolutely fallen in love with. And when you're doing a lot of different projects with it, you may find that you have little strips left over. So we're just going to use a little strip of that just on the background. And you can pick any of the different wonderful patterns in that. You're also going to need some old olive, not necessarily a full sheet, just a little piece, well, probably about a half a sheet, to do the 2 laurels on the inside. Our Island Indigo card base. which for those that don't know the card base measurements, this is that as well. You can get 2 card bases from one sheet of 8.5 by 11. So cutting in half and scoring the other way. And we're also going to need a sheet of Sahara sand. Now this is for the inside layer, and this is going to be a little smaller, cut at 8 by, oh, you can't see the other number. Okay, 8 by 5, and scored at 4 right in the center. And we'll go over all the measurements again a little later. And then also the last thing is, of course, some Whisper White. We're going to need a piece for the front, and also a little tiny square for our inside mermaid kisses and starfish wishes. Ooh, that's hard to say that 3 times fast. And then also you're going to need a scrap of white to stamp all your little fish and color and cut them out. All right. Yep. And that is all of our papers. And then I'm also going to quickly throw in a few extra accessories and things we're going to be using. One is because this is a photopolymer, see this is how big this guy is compared to my hand, I'm going to be using the block, the size F, just because it's a really good size for that big one. We're also going to be using the blender pen, just briefly today. You could end up blending all the fish if you want, but I found it works especially well in coloring the mermaid's skin and kind of making it look natural. So we're going to be using that today. Pack of 3 for $12, we just need 1. We're also going to be using our paper snips. You really do need that fine tip scissors if you're going to be fussy cutting. And then I'm also going to be using the fast fuse to adhere the seaweed in the center. And then of course you have your choice of additional adhesive, either the snail or the liquid Tombow mono glue. And then our marker colors to color in, we're going to be using the More Mustard. Actually, no, it was the Crushed Curry. I grabbed the wrong color. The Crushed Curry, the Pool Party, and the Old Olive. That is not the color I thought I grabbed. There we go. Crushed Curry. There we go. Alright, so you guys got all of that. And then, of course, we're also going to be doing some sponging. So you'll need your little sponges. We're sponging that Island Indigo and some of that Sahara sand. So I believe that's everything. So let's put this card together. Okay, go. So we'll start off with our nice card base in Island Indigo. Got the measurements right there. Go ahead and fold that in half and then just set that off to the side. We're also going to go ahead and, actually, let's go ahead and do the fish first. So I'm kind of pre-stamped and colored here. So for the fish, what I did is I took my Seaside Shore stamp, which I also have another handy tip for you guys. So this is the wood mount, which unfortunately is very snug in the case. You see that? See how snug it is? I found it really helpful for me is once I got it, before I picked any of the blocks off, I went and traced where all the blocks were so I knew how they fit in. And then I stamped, so I had a little handy guide using just computer paper to kind of help me figure out how to puzzle them back in. So there's a trick for some of the bigger wood sets that are a little cozy. You can do that to help remember how everything goes back together. So for the fish, I took this cute little tang and stamped him in the basic black 3 times. And then I also did this zebra butterfly, I think is the name of that one, also in basic black. Now for these fish, these angel, I stamped those in the Dapper Denim, and then colored them in with the Crushed Curry. Now I will also tell you, I did a little technique, and I don't think you can see it. Let's see if we zoom in here. Okay, so you can kind of see on this one I did half of it. I took a really fine tip marker Let's see, make sure this is not too, okay. I took a really fine tip marker and I just traced the bottom of that yellow line. And I really think it kind of made it pop a little. So you don't have to do it, but I think that really helped it. So I just used the now retired Project Life journaling pens, but if you have just a fine tip black pen marker just to make it pop. Right? So 2 of those, 3 of those, 1 of the little zebrafish, and it's blurry again. Sorry. There we go. Okay. And then I also stamped the mermaid in the Dapper Denim as well. I really kind of liked the idea of having her with the light shade of blue. And honestly, she looks pretty with just that Dapper Denim as well. But I went ahead and colored her tail in using that Pool Party marker, just all over. And for her hair, I colored with the crushed curry because I'm blonde, so I figured I'd give somebody a blonde mermaid. Now, if you want to add extra highlights, you can go over certain areas again with that same color marker to make it darker, add some highlights. But I want to share with you guys how to do the skin, because that was the part that was the most tricky for me to kind of figure out a realistic looking skin tone for the mermaid. So if you see in this one, see, I am very white, so it's hard to kind of get a nice light pink that doesn't look too ridiculous. So I'm going to show you how I got that, and I don't even think you can really see how light it is in camera. Well, maybe you can. Okay, but I'm going to show you how I did that. So we're going to grab that blender pen, which I put here. Okay. I'm going to grab our blender pen and we're going to grab that new powder pink ink, which is a really nice, soft, subtle pink. Give it a little squeeze, and that puts some ink on the top right there. Then I'm going to take my blender pen and just lightly kind of rub it, that tip. And I don't want it super dark, so I'm kind of pulling that down and swirling and kind of thinning it out a little. It's so light I don't even know if it's going to show up in the camera well. Okay. And then I'm going to, once I've got that pink in there, always do a little test off to the side, and I'm just going to kind of lightly color her in. Now, we're not going for a full solid skin tone, because yet again, I'm really light. I'm going really light, so not even a full color in. I'm kind of leaving a few little white spots here and there just for highlights. But just a little soft pink touch. And you could do a similar thing with some of the other, oh, sorry, I'm shaking the camera. With any of the other skin tone shades, like the Sahara Sand or the Espresso, just depending on what skin tone you were going with for your mermaid. But really, you can color your mermaid anything you'd like. Honestly, she looks gorgeous in all kinds of colors. I'm going to show you real quickly. I've got a couple other extra mermaids that I colored, just to give you some other ideas for different colors real quick. But I'm sure once you play around with the colors and different things, you'll find some that you like. But of course, I had to make a brunette. I had to make one with black hair. I haven't played with the skin tones yet, but I do really like how they turned out. So just some other different colors that you could do your mermaids in. All right. So moving on. So we've got our fish and mermaids, and you're going to want to cut them out with your paper snips, which, oh, are right here. Right here. So I went ahead, the magic of TV, boom, it's cut out. And I added some washi tape on the back. I cheated, so they're pre-cut. But just because I figured you guys don't want to sit around and watch me cut. So, anyway. Alright, so then you have your little fish. And the other thing we're going to go ahead and do is I move Post-it notes out. So you have your fish prepped. We're going to go ahead and cut out our seaweed using that Laurel set. Now let me show you the sandwich real quick that you will need for your big shot, just so you can be sure that you are sticking it in correctly. So for this one, of course, I used the magnetic platform, which is just awesome for these metal dies. And if you can see on the picture right there, it shows you how to layer it with just one pad on the bottom. I generally have the messier one on the bottom for that cutting edge down. And then you're also going to want your paper. Now, you probably want to trim this a little bit, but this is just an example. And then we're going to take those laurel dies from that set. Them both. Now, key thing to know, to do this, you do need to cut both of these. Don't try to double one up because of the angles that is down there, and they're meant to interlock. So if you do two right sides or two left sides, you're not going to have the same center. So you need to do one of each, and you can just kind of stick them on there. That magnetic sheet will just hold it down. And then one more cutting pad on top and run it through the Big Shot. Now, for this one, we did 2 pairs, so we're going to need 4 of these total, so 2 sets of the laurels. Now, after you run them through the Big Shot, they're going to be a little stuck in all these little tiny grooves, so this is a great use of that wonderful, here we go, this wonderful little die mat. It really helps pop out those dies when they're stuck in there. That's what all those little holes are for, so those bristles can, the die brush, that's the name of it. The die brush kind of goes right in there and helps pop all those out, so really handy tool for the intricate dies. So move that out of the way. So after you've run those, then you're going to have 2 sets of those, and you'll notice there's these little grooves on the bottom, and so they're meant to just lock right into place just like that. So there's little grooves, just lock right in. Okay, so we've got our laurels cut, we've got our fish colored and cut. So let's go ahead and start stamping and putting our pieces together. Let's start with the front cover. So we're going to take that piece of Whisper White for our front. There. And our wonderful Good Friends Are Hard to Find stamp set. Now this is a photopolymer stamp set, so what really makes it stamp better is using that Pierce mat underneath just to give it that extra good grip. So I'm going to stamp this in the chocolate chip ink. And if it's bigger, sometimes it's easier to tap the ink pad on the stamp, just like that. You can see you got a good coverage on there. Just going to stamp it a little off to the side so I have room for that seaweed to the left. Just like that. Give it a little press. Try not to shake the camera. And peel it right off. So really, really nice stamp set. Definitely a great addition to anybody's stash. Okay, so we've got that, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp that seaweed real quick, and that is from the Magical Mermaid set. Right there, it's got that seaweed in the corner, so pop that out. There's that seaweed right there. And then you'll also possibly notice on the bottom, I did a little bit of the shells and things, and that is this really cute stamp. And I don't know if you can see, it's got tiny little shells and a little crabs and just like little sand dots. So I used that on the bottom as well. So we're going to stamp that. And these are both with the chocolate chip. Now these are wood mount, so we don't need our pierce pad for that. So I'm just going to stamp it up onto the side, and I guess if you want to do the seaweed first, you could. And you can do multiple pieces of seaweed. You can kind of do whatever, however you want for the background. Go. And then I'm going to do that bottom. So just kind of hitting the edge right there. So it's a very subtle, kind of sandy edge. All right, so not too bad so far. I'm going to go ahead and color in that seaweed, and you can also stamp. I stamped the little sand dollar, was from the Seaside Shore set, and it was one of the bigger ones of the two. What's also good in here is there's also some little bubbles if you want your fish to have some bubbles. You could also go sea star as well instead, but we'll just keep with the original. But so many options with this set. I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with this idea. So we'll just stamp him quick. So there we go. Got our little sand dollar, and I will clean that off at the end. All right, so next let us color in that seaweed real quick. And for that I used the Old Olive marker. Alright, and the next thing we're going to do is sponge that bottom and the side with the Sahara sand. It just makes a really good sand color. It's well named. So we're just going to grab that sponge and just give it a light sponging across the bottom. There we go. We got the sand on the bottom there. And then let's do some general sponging around just for the water. For that, we're going to use that Island Indigo again. Grab our Island Indigo sponge. And I didn't want to color the whole thing, so I basically kind of hit the outer edge and left the center. I mean, if you want to go full background, you can. Let me pick it up a little so don't shake the camera here. And then just a little brushing on that side just kind of makes that edge pop. You can go as light or as dark as you want. Get that. Actually, I may hit a little on the center too. Okay, that's pretty good. So now we just need to add our fish. So I only did two. So that little yellow tang, and then also one of our little angel fish. And I'm just going to hit it with a little liquid glue real quick. You could also throw a dimensional underneath them if you want to give them a little more pop off that card. Trying not to cover my letters. I'm going to move him over just a teeny bit. There we go. Okay. There is the front. Pretty straightforward. So we're going to stick that off to the side, or you could go ahead. Actually, let's go ahead and add it to the card real quick. So the other thing that I added was just a strip of that wood grain designer series wood textures paper, which you'll discover because of the size of the sheets, you'll tend to have some extra little pieces left over. So this is just a little 1-inch strip, the size of the card. And this one actually is a little frayed. Let me trim that real quick. There we go. Okay. So we're just going to glue that against the back and just trim off the excess real quick. Lining it up. Glue our front down. On top just like that, just to get that little island indigo edge all around. And then that little extra bit that's hanging off, I'm just going to take my paper snips and just trim it real quick. So nice and even. So now let's work on the inside. Now for the inside, if you're looking at this one, you can see that I mounted the seaweed on the Sahara sand paper. Now this is good for multiple reasons. One, if you mess up with sticking the laurels in, you're not messing up the front of your card. Also, I kind of liked the idea of the Sahara sand kind of looking a little more sandy and natural. So we're going to start with our piece right here, that Sahara sand that was cut at 8 by 5 and scored in the middle at 4. So we're going to go ahead and fold that score line over. You can even hit it with your bone folder if you want a nice sharp crease right there. Now it is easier to stamp and decorate the base before adding the laurels, but up to you how much or little you want to do. So we'll just do a few of those real quick and then move on to the rest of the card. So for this one, yet again, I'm using that sandy bottom stamp and my chocolate chip, and just pretty much, ooh, I have to get it on the ink pad, okay. And just pretty much stamping it a little all over. There's not really a right or wrong way, but just really giving it a good overall sandy bottom look. General sandiness. And then I'm also going to hit a little Sahara sand on it too, just for some texture. Yet again, personal preference, how much you may or may not want to add. But this is just way easier to do before adding the laurels than after. Alright, so now we've got that. And the other thing, prior to sticking the laurels down, wherever I put them, there they are, is I also thought it looked a little better if you do a little sponging on the laurels yourself. Yet again, another personal preference moment. If you want them the solid green, you can totally do that. But I think just a little bit of the old olive on top does really make them pop just a teeny bit more. But you don't have to do that. But I'm going to do it real quick just for the video so you can kind of see what that looks like. So just a little sponging right on top. Just kind of gives a little bit of a freckled, more textured look in my opinion. Okay, that's probably pretty good. And yet again, you can add more or less. Alright, so now on to actually putting these laurels in the center of the card. Now for this one, I definitely recommend using the fast fuse. It's a little easier, it's not as messy, and it's just quicker to stick those in there. Now, you'll notice when you close it, the laurels tend to naturally move down. They pop up, but when you close it, they move down in the card. So you need to keep that in mind when layering and sticking them in your card. You don't want to stick them on the very bottom, because what will happen is as you close, they'll poke out from the bottom. Now what's nice about starting with a piece that's a little smaller than your card base is you have a little extra wiggle room where it's not going to be poking out. So first off, let's start with one pair. Move the other one out of the way. So there's this little crease on both of them, so you're going to fold that back. Just a little tiny crease. I'm going to fold that back right there. Okay. And then you're going to interlock them. There's that little interlocking spot, just like there. So you have these two little folded over edges, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and add some fast fuse just on those folded down bits. If it's easier to do uninterlocked, that's fine too. Careful not to add glue to any other parts because you don't want other parts sticking down. There we go. Okay. Close it back. Now, when sticking your laurel in, we're going to go straight down, but the main thing is these two sides need to go on either side of the crease. And it's best if they're just straight up and down, best you can. And I recommend, it's going to be easier to do the seaweed that's in the back first, and then you can see how far down it's closing, and then do the front one. Okay, so we're going to start with the one in the back first. Okay. Take those, let's see, I'm going to keep them parallel here. And we're going to glue them kind of towards the top. Oh, he's moving on me. Okay, there we go. And straight down, just like that. So when you close it, it should, so you can kind of see, let me make sure it's closer to the camera here. Okay, kind of see that V. Oh, he's not sticking down on me. Be sure to press it when you put it down. Go. I did not press it good. Okay. Okay. So when you close it, see, it should have that little bit of that V in the center. So as you close it, it's going to press and move down. Make sure I'm not sticking anything it's not supposed to be sticking to. There we go. Okay, so you see that? Sticking up just like that. And so as I close it, the seaweed is going to be moving down. Now, I'm not super worried about that little edge because, keep in mind, we stick it in. Okay, it's poking up a little bit. So I will trim that real quick because seaweed is not symmetrical, so it's fine if it's lost a little. There we go. Ta-da. Okay, so we close it and it folds and pops back up. So let's go ahead and do that second one. Yet again, we've got that little fold. We're going to fold at the fold. It's definitely a good idea to grab your bone folder and give it a good sharp crease just to help with that edge. Okay, hit with the fast fuse. Now you could use the liquid glue, you could use the tear tape, you could use glue dots. I've seen people use glue dots, but I really think the fast fuse holds better. And you don't have to wait for glue to dry. You just need to be careful not to get glue on anything you don't want sticking. All right, so yet again, we got the glue on there. We're going to interlock those two. Make sure that they're straight up and down. We're going to the card flat and put those on either side of our crease. Okay, so there we have it. Two pieces of seaweed, and we fold it, and they close down just like that. and they pop back up. So cool just in and of itself that we have these awesome pop-ups in this new catalog. And I'm going to go ahead and grab those fish that I had pre-colored and cut. All right, and also my mermaid. Now you could also do multiple mermaids on this if you prefer. I just thought one was kind of more mysterious. All right, so yet again, look at that inside. So I did the one mermaid across the back, so she's kind of hidden by the seaweed. And then I've got the two yellow tangs and the other two fish. But yet again, I mean, you can place them however you like, but I'm just copying my current example. See if I can leave it out there where you guys can see it in the video. That's the trouble with pop-up cards in a video. It's hard to show you and do it. Okay, like that. All right, well, we'll get back to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our mermaid. I'm just going to stick her at an angle across there. Now, I will give you a hint, and this is one of the things I learned when making this. You want to be careful when you're putting glue across these little holes and edges. You don't want the glue to seep through, and then when it closes, it catches, and then your card won't want to open. So you do want to be careful just putting glue on the little parts of seaweed that you want to have glue. So I'm just going to do a couple dots just on a couple of the thicker spots straight across. So a little goes a long way, but that way that glue won't seep through and catch anything I don't want to glue down. I'm just going to stick her at an angle. So she's hiding in that seaweed. So she's on the second one, but just at an angle. Just like that. Then we're going to go ahead and do our other fish in the back. So we'll do a little dot there, there, there. Little goes a long way. Press, glue that down. Then our little yellow tang. Let's stick him down here. Press, just like that. Then other little blue angelfish there. So I'm going to glue him like he's swimming out of the seaweed down right there. And then my last little fish, just kind of this other corner. So just like that. So the ocean is full of fish and a mermaid. And same thing with the seaweed. You do need to keep in mind when you glue your fish not to stick them too far out so that when you close it, they're peeking outside the card. Okay, I got that? Now while that dries real quick, I did want to show you guys one alternative. So if you don't want to go double seaweed like this one, another option is doing a single one. And this is one of my earlier ideas, but I thought it was a little crowded with the mermaid and all the fish. But you could do it with just the one. So that's just another example for you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and do our little sentiment, which is just so cute. Mermaid kisses and starfish wishes. I mean, what a nice thing to send somebody. Yet again with that chocolate chip and our little square of 2" by 1 3/4 scrap of paper. So I'm going to just take that chocolate chip yet again. Little scrap, flip it over. It is easier if you stamp it on a larger sheet and trim it down, but for measurement purposes I went ahead and cut it. So just a little tap and eyeball it in the center. You can also use a Stamp-A-Majig if you want to really be sure it's nice and even in the center. Go. So, not perfect, but it'll be fine. Then, other thing I did was just kind of kissed the edge, just do a little light press into the ink pad. Just gives it a little definition, just like that. And then, yet again, I got that Sahara Sand ink and sponge out and just gave it a little bit of a sponging around the edge. Just to kind of help it pop, just like that. Then of course this has got some dimensionals on the back. And I also added an extra starfish on there, and that was with the Calypso coral, but I'm not going to do it for this one, but that was just stamped with that same starfish and cut out, fussy cut. But let's go ahead and grab our dimensionals. Flip him over and do just two or one, either way. Just hit opposite corners there. Peel that off. I'm just going to stick it, oh, not upside down. Just a little bit, add an edge, just like that. All right, now we need to adhere it to our card base that we did earlier. Put that off to the side. So key thing for this is you want to be sure that your crease is right in there in that center crease. So to make it easier, what I recommend doing is gluing one side at a time. And the liquid glue makes it a little easier if you need to kind of move it a little bit as it's drying. You have a little bit of wiggle time with that. So I'm just going to give it a good coating on one side. Against that crease. Line it up, press down, so you can see that blue edge all around, and yet I overlapped a little bit on my sentiment, but I'm not worried because you're not going to see it. Didn't do the other side. Just fold the card on top, give it a little press. Sure we got it on there good, and then we just do a test. There we go. Boom. Just like that. You can be sure that it's just in there all the way to that crease. Oh, there we have it. Our fun Under the Sea pop-up card using all of these awesome stamp sets. I mean, I think they turned out great. Oh, he's popping up a little on me. Press it back down. There we go. Okay. Much better. Okay. So I hope you guys liked this tutorial, and I would love to see what kind of cards you guys come up with this design. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers at this video. I'm really excited. Got a couple different ideas of what I want to do to celebrate that. If you haven't had a chance yet, go ahead and answer my quick 5-question survey. That would really greatly help me out. So thanks guys. We'll check you out in the next video. Bye.